our learning, as always, is in memory of Reb Yoel Torjman David and Sarah. So this week's Parsha is Parsha's Vayakel. The Parsha starts off, the first pasuk is Moshe is gathering us. Vayakel Moshe Eskal Das B'nai Israel. He's gathering all of us. Vayakel means gathering. That's what it means. And we're post Golden Calf. We finished with the Chita Egal, and according to the Zohar's timeline, after we atoned and after we received the gifts post tragedy, here we are. Moshe's gathering up as gathering us up as a nation, and the wording is Kol Das B'nai Israel, which translates to community, which is interesting. I'll speak about it, but the rest of the Parsha is more details of the Mishkan. And we have been speaking about the Mishkan for many, many weeks already. I think it's been about 3 weeks that we're talking about the Mishkan, and we're not finished. It continues on next week also. And it goes into immense detail, and it kind of seems like a lot of Mishkan talk. It's like, and so the question is why are we doing this all over again? Why are we still talking about the Mishkan? It kind of seems a little bit like repetitive at this point, which obviously it's not, because nothing in the Parsha is random, nothing is repetitive. There's always something in everything. So we'll leave that question and come back to it. Moshe is gathering us up, and he says in the first pasuk, it says, this is what God commanded. And before getting into the details of the instructions of what we're going to be doing this week in the Mishkan, this week they're actually doing the work. They had been getting instructions, and this week they're actually going to be doing the work. But there's a pasuk that says right away in the beginning of the Parsha, and it speaks about Shabbos. Lo savru eish b'chol mishvosechem b'yom haShabbos. You must not kindle in any of your dwellings on the Shabbos day. And this Parsha is speaking about the building of the Mishkan, the colors of the threads, and the actual creation of the Mishkan from top to bottom. And then this pasuk speaks about Shabbos. And it's interesting, actually, because it's a 7-word pasuk, which is significant for Shabbos. But it kind of seems random, because why are we talking about Shabbos now when we're in the middle of the story of the creation of the Mishkan? And we obviously know that nothing is random in the Torah, and there are deep lessons in every twist and turn, in every word, in every sentence. And obviously this is no different. So this pasuk alone has a tremendous amount of commentary on it. But the main idea is overall that Chazal say that this is the one pasuk that encapsulates all of Shabbos. And one of the things that we learn from this sentence is about having warm food for Shabbos. That's just something that we all know. This is where it comes from. It talks about lighting a fire on Shabbos. But the question is, what's it doing here? Why are we talking about Shabbos when we're talking about building the Mishkan? Now, we know that the 39 malachos that we have, that are the structure of all the things we're not allowed to do on Shabbos, all come from the building of the Mishkan. So it's actually not random at all to talk about Shabbos when we're talking about the 39 malachos, which is what we talk about in this Parsha, because we're talking about building the Mishkan. So it's actually the main topic of the Parsha, and is Shabbos. And the rest of the Parsha goes into all the details on this topic, which are all the 39 forbidden malachos that we learn. So it's not random. It's actually the main topic is to talk about Shabbos. And it's fascinating to know that when we talk about building, the main topic is Shabbos, which is rest. Seems kind of contradictory. And we'll talk a little bit about it. But we're being gathered by Moshe, and the words used, Vayakel, translated, it means to assemble. Moshe, it's not, there's significance in that word, right? Moshe is teaching us about what it means to assemble. It's not just coming together as a community. It's not a neighborhood gathering. This isn't a shul gathering, right? But how to come together and how to build together. in this world in the physical world, in the world of work, which they're building, this is what they're doing physical work is required to build a mishkan, right? And we all have different jobs in this world. And when we are focusing in on the physical aspects of this world, it's almost a breeding grounds for the ego to start getting involved, thinking my work is more important than your work, my role in this world is more valuable than yours. Because when we talk about work and actions and doing, it's very easily compared. It's easy to compare to each other, right? It's easy to say a doctor who is saving a life is simply more important than a toll collector, right? That's not like, that seems like almost kind of obvious, because when we talk about just the things that we're doing, we can say one is more important or more significant than the other. But Moshe is not talking about the work that we're doing to contribute to building the Mishkan. Moshe is speaking to our essence, our soul, because this is who Moshe was. We learned this previously. This is who Moshe was, and so this is the part of us that he spoke to. He spoke to our essence. Not one person in the world, not then and now. Rusty, can you mute? Thank you. Not one person in the world is more worthy, more important, more loved, more needed, more necessary, and more valued in the eyes of God or in the eyes of other people, right? When we're in our essence, we're all the same, and we're all needed, and we're all equally important and loved and worthy. I saw this idea in Reb Yoel Torjman Z's book on the Parsha. And he says that the way that we gathered here with Moshe was a tikkun for how we gathered last week in the Egel. Last week we gathered in chaos, frantic to fix our, like, these overwhelming feelings that we had, to sort of like assuage our fears. And it wasn't even the purpose of what we were doing wasn't even bad. We were feeling so overwhelmed with our desire to connect to God. It wasn't the fundamental of it wasn't even bad, but the actualization of it ended up, we know where it ended up, in our deepest downfall. And so here Moshe is showing us how to come together in a totally different way, with intention, with thought, slowly, methodically, carefully, with consciously, with the utmost awareness. It's not without our differences. It's with actually the utmost awareness of all of our gifts showing up to build together in unity, all in service of God with purpose. So it's not that we don't have the ability to take action and for it to turn out good. We do have the ability, but Moshe's giving us the keys. Moshe's giving us the secret to how to do this in a godly way. And when we gather together in this way, with intention, with clarity, with purpose, with connection, it's Shabbos. It's restful. It's a state of being. It's a state of being in presence. And in the Egel, we were running to create something, and our actions got totally derailed. And here the purpose was Moshe saying, come together, and the purpose is to just be. It was easy. Like, you just had to show up, to assemble, to gather. And this was the rectification of gathering this was the rectification of the Egel, of the gathering that we did in the Egel that landed us in a negative place. It's kind of like when you move through the world in action versus stillness, which is the masculine and the feminine. And in my own experience, I've seen it. And what I've felt is that the most powerful way to show up and to be a part of something is simply just to be. right? Because when you are leaned in to your feminine side, and when you're in touch with your flow and you're moving through the world in this way, the most valuable thing about you becomes just your being. It's nothing that you do, it's nothing that you say, but it's just who you are. And when you're connected to that side, it becomes the most valuable thing about you. I'll tell you a quick story, which I'll tell you a quick story about it. 2 years ago, it's actually this week, which is why it popped into my mind and felt appropriate to share this story. But a very dear friend of ours lost her husband very suddenly in the blink of an eye. And this is something like you never forget. I'll never forget the phone call that I got, the deep felt pain, right? Like that, the crying, the scream, and the wail, like when you get a phone call like this, it's not something that you ever forget. When somebody loses a loved one in a split second, it's like this excruciating pain in a moment in time that's frozen. It's not something that leaves you. It's a memory that I'll always have. And it obviously wasn't a question, right? It wasn't a question. We needed to jump into action. We hopped on a plane and we showed up. And I remember as I was on my way to showing up to be with my friend in her moment of loss, I remember thinking to myself, like, this scene feels oddly familiar. I know this pain. My family experienced something eerily similar 30 years ago, when my father died suddenly and our entire world changed in an instant. And I thought to myself, I'm showing up in this scene that feels so familiar to me. What was I missing at the time? What did I not have that I needed so desperately? What can I give to my friend almost as a rectification for what I didn't have? What can I give to her? What can I give to her children? And what I came up with was that all she really needs is to not be alone. She needs a hand to hold. She needs me to not actually do anything. All she needs is for me to just be, to be with her, to breathe with her, to sit with her, to cry with her. There's nothing that she actually needs me to do. She just needs me to be, to just show up. And there was a tremendous amount of action, obviously. It was necessary. And the community of the people in her life that showed up were beyond what anyone who is going through such a devastating tragedy could ever dream up, right? And it was incredible to see how everybody showed up in their own way. And somehow the power of stillness and steadiness, this was the gift that I was able to give in this moment of crisis. And it's fascinating to me because this literally just happened to me last week. Of all of the millions of actions that were taken that week and that year, right? This is something that I still hear about. Literally last week, I met somebody who said to me, I remember you. You were the person who was just breathing with her as they buried her husband, right? Now, why is this something that a stranger remembers 2 years later? And this happens to me all the time. I meet people who remember, because there's something that in the power of being, just being without actually doing anything is doing everything. And it's one of the most precious gifts that you can ever give to somebody, that you can ever give to yourself, to your children. It's the gift of presence. And when I was preparing for this class, I actually paused to put my son to bed, and he was having some anxiety. I don't know, something in the news that he heard. And after we talked it through, he says to me, he's like, okay, now can you just stay with me. I need some time with you, no talking. He understands the value of just being together and just being in presence. Now, the actions that I do, obviously they count. The words that I say matter. He needs to be tucked in. He needs to talk things over. But my presence, this is invaluable. This is something beyond, that goes way beyond any action that I could ever possibly take. And this is what we're being taught. This is a lesson that we're learning. That building the Mishkan, this is what it starts with. It starts with Shabbos. It starts with restful presence. Because in our work, in our actions, we are all different. And being in a state of action is the expression of our bodies, right? And our bodies are limited. And so when we're in a state of action, we are in an expression of our limitedness. But when we're in a state of rest, when we're leaned into our femininity and to our flow and our essence and our soul, we're all the same. There is no difference in any of us when we are led by and connected to our soul. Being at rest is the expression of our infinite parts. When we're not, our body is not actually doing anything. Our soul is the part of us that lives on forever and ever. And so when we are at rest, this is an expression of the infinite parts of us. And this is the key into bringing the Shlina into your house, into your home, into your heart as a human being. This is the key to it. It's through Shabbos, through what Shabbos is, a day of rest. And we each have a Mishkan, and not even necessarily in the form of a home, but as humans, each of us are considered a Mishkan. And the Mishkan is not something, it's not a relic of the past. It's not something that happened many, many years ago, and we're just reading a story about something that one time happened. The Shechina is not reserved only for the Beis HaMikdash or for the Beis Medrash or for the Kotel or for Yerushalayim or for the grave of a holy person. Those places are inherently holy, right? And then there are other places in the world, like our homes, that we actually get to welcome the Shechina into. We get to make places that are not inherently holy. And it requires you, in order to become holy, it's dependent on us to be holy. It's not by default holy. There are places that are by default holy, and so we go to them to connect, and we can feel, you walk in and you feel the presence, but you can create your home in a way, and your soul, your body in a way that you can feel the Shekhinah in your body, in your home, in your life. And we all had this opportunity to build it now in our homes. It's not just a thing of the past, the Mishkan. The Torah is something that is very, very alive. And this is literally the guide on how to do it. We're given the instructions on how to create a Mishkan in our lives and in our homes. And the instruction starts with rest. It starts with presence, with intention, with being connected to God. And it doesn't start with action. There are actions that need to happen. The action is actually needed because the Mishkan didn't build itself. It required us to move into action and to pour the molds and to sew the fabrics and to create a tapestry and all of the vessels of the Mishkan. Everything required work. It didn't build itself. But we take action from a place of first gathering and connection to our essence, to our soul, to the soul of ourselves, the souls of our families, the souls of our communities, and collectively to the entire nation. This is the lesson that Moshe is teaching us by gathering us all together, by assembling us, by showing us how to come together. He tells us that the foundation of building anything, to all the work that will come, all of the Mishkan that will travel with us for many, many years, and then eventually the Beis HaMikdash, it all starts off with Shabbos. That Shabbos is a place when we're in a form of rest, when we're in a state of rest, that's a place. This is a human being. This is a home that becomes a vessel for the Shekhinah. It becomes a place that allows God in, and it literally becomes a resting place for God. So, to summarize, Moshe assembles us all together. And in the way that he is assembling us and gathering us, he's teaching us that intention in our gathering is a rectification for the way that we gathered in chaos and panic. For the Eagle, which landed not in a place of Shekhinah, but literally landed in the opposite of what we were getting at. And before we can talk about all the different actions, the 39 malachos that were required in order to build the Mishkan, we first have to learn what it means to have Shabbos, to be at rest, to be present. This is the key to becoming the vessel for the Shekhinah in our homes and in our hearts and in our lives. And what I desire for all of us is that we have the opportunity of giving the gift of presence, the greatest gift in the world, to ourselves first. It always starts with ourselves, to the people around us. And besides forgiving, I desire for us all to always also have the gift of receiving presence from God, from ourselves, and from the souls of the people and places around us in the most holiest of ways. Thanks, guys, for learning Parsha with me. Have a beautiful Shabbos.